Thanks. He messaged me. He's running just about 10 minutes late. So we may have to do it. We'll just see. We'll play by ear.
Good evening, everybody. I call the Bethany City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 6, 2017 to order. And here in a second, we're going to stand for the prayer and the flag salute. But before we do that, I just wanted to acknowledge somebody. We're in grand company tonight, something that when you witness success, you don't often recognize it, but I think when we see it, we need to acknowledge it. And in today's society, we don't see a whole lot of this, and so I just want to highlight this. Today, I hear, is Mr. Phil Shirey and Mrs. Shirey's 59th wedding anniversary. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And everybody here is probably wondering, how did all of that happen? Well, I'll explain it to you later.
Well, I think that's awesome. I heard one time that so many young people, their goal is getting to their wedding day when the little girl dreams, and she's a young lady, and that's been her goal. But I heard that the goal is actually your 50th wedding anniversary, and you have exceeded that. So I think that's awesome. Congratulations.
I intend to go up to a little higher level.
Nice, nice. Well, let's stand for our invocation led by Councilmember John Herron, and then our flag salute.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, as we come here tonight. Lord, we just ask that you'll be in our presence. Be with us as we're making the decisions up here. Help us to be stewards of what you have given us, Lord. We are incredibly grateful. We are grateful for this nation, for this city. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 1 tonight is the consent docket. A is the approval of minutes from the May 16, 2017 regular meeting. B is the approval of minutes from the May 16, 2017 special called meeting and the approval of claims. D is the to accept and dedicate sanitary sewer and stormwater easements and accept water line extension plans, sanitary sewer relocation plans, and storm sewer relocation plans for the Bethany Library located at 6700 Northwest 35th Street. E is the approval of resolution number 1441, establishing Matthews Trenching as an agent for the city. F is approval of resolution number 1442, renewing annual Oklahoma City radio system license agreement.
I would make a motion to approve the consent docket.
I would second that motion.
Do we need to talk about this at all? That's the busiest consent docket I've ever seen.
Do you have anything you want to
I've got probably a lot of questions, so does, I'm sure, some other people.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, the sanitary sewer storm everything for the library. I mean, we got dollars, we got estimates, we got problems, we got any issues, or, I mean, is it just a slam dunk?
My understanding, this is a routine item when we're ready to accept and to dedicate an improvement or an easement such as this. I might suggest if there are other questions, maybe you might just pull those off and approve the rest of the consent docket. We can come back to those items.
Are there specific questions?
Question for the attorney. Just for general knowledge, I thought resolutions had to be voted on independently, but they can be in the consent
No,
document.
ordinances do, but
Just
not
ordinances.
resolutions. Actually, a resolution is really written evidence of the same thing you would do if you just simply made a motion to approve an item. It's just reducing it to writing. That's basically what it amounts to.
Do you have anything, Mr. Moore?
Yeah, I mean, are we gonna discuss this when we discuss the plans at all, or item D? Or is it just not part of the presentation, or?
I don't believe it's planned to be part of the presentation. We can pull it off very easily and do that separately if you like.
If that's what you wanna do, it's up to y'all.
Unless, Steve, you have a real quick.
The library, easement, sewers, water.
I can tell you the reason it's in there is the new building is much larger than the old, and there is existing sewer and existing storm sewer that would be under the building. So this is to relocate them outside, so it's just part of the project. It's a normal thing. They require a DEQ permit on the sanitary and to make it happen, so this is just part of the project. I believe Todd can speak to it. I think the costs are built into the project costs.
I was just wondering how if this ties in at all, or affects at all, how the water's coming down here and hooking them around the Baptist church, and if any of that is gonna be affected by this or that by this.
Are you talking about drainage now?
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's all been studied and taken care of.
If Steve signed off on it, there's nothing to talk about. I mean, if he's happy, there's really nothing to talk about.
Actually, I would like to jump forward on this, that it will probably keep us out of some trouble we've had in the past, and I'm very happy that the city recognized that the problem was there and took care of it beforehand. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Please cast your vote. Item number 2 tonight is the library update and presentation. JD?
Thank you. This is a very exciting night, I think, for the whole community of Bethany. We have a number of folks here this evening to present on behalf of the library project. Tim Rogers, Executive Director of MLS at the Metropolitan Library System, will be here shortly. I think at this point I'd like to go ahead and introduce to you Todd Olberding. He'll be discussing the budget and give you a brief overview. Todd has a degree in architectural and building engineering technology from Milwaukee School of Engineering in Milwaukee. He has a long history of commercial construction on a variety of projects, including hospitals, military support facilities, science labs, offices, a basketball arena, and even a theater. He more recently worked for Metropolitan Library System. You'll hear that a lot tonight. We'll probably use the acronym MLS. He retired from from that system in 2016, and then he came to work for us as our library manager, as a liaison between library staff, local governments, architects, and contractors. As I said, he came to work for us in 2016, and it's been a pleasure. He's a detail-oriented person, and as he often says, his blessing is his curse. But it is really great working with Todd. So Todd, if you'd like to come forward.
Thank you for the nice introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to work for Bethany. This really is an exciting event for all of us, and there's many of us in this room that have been part of this process for the last 2014 when the process actually started, so you're all to be congratulated for your foresight and your energy. Danelle is going to speak in greater lengths about the actual project. I'm going to just touch base very briefly on the budget, and that's always an important thing for all of us. And as we move forward to going out for bid on this, clearly it's something in your interest to make sure that we can pay for what we're planning on doing. So there is a document in your agenda that provides an outline of the budget for the project. And
Todd, I'm sorry, if I might, is item 2 in your iPad packets.
Item 2, okay.
On page 2. Item 2, page 2. Excuse me.
I see you haven't been able to open it up on yours. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Okay. Well, the budget is itemized here. We have probably about 15 different cost codes that are identified as part of the project budget. And I think that there's really a couple of significant numbers that I'd like to draw your attention to. One is the bottom line there shows $8,809,277. And that basically is the funding that has been provided in total for the library project. That's in total. Of that money, the Metropolitan Library System contributed about $669,000, and that money was given to the City of Bethany last fall and is in City of Bethany's investment accounts. And so that basically, if you subtract those numbers from the $8,809,000, that shows the Bethany bond amount of roughly $8,140,000, which is includes lots of costs that are associated with that. But that's basically the money that we have set aside for this project. The other thing that I would draw your attention to then is the construction budget, because that's the number that we're going to hear next week, and or in a month actually. The library estimate that's in the budget is $6,191,760. The estimate for the park work is $405,000. The design contingency that's part of that is $329,000, which brings out a total bid budget of $6,926,000. So when we get pricing back in from general contractors the 6th of July, about a month from now, we're looking for a number about $6,900,000. And our most recent estimate indicates that we're, right in there. And if those of you that have been involved in construction, you know how that estimates are not anything binding until you get a contractor that says, I'm willing to do this. So, but we're optimistic that we're on target, and we've got our pedal to the metal, and we're ready to go.
You're a contractor, you know that.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce Danelle Wrightson from Dewberry Architects. Danelle is a registered architect and interior designer. She's worked on over 200 public libraries over the last 35 years. She currently chairs the American Library Association Furniture and Equipment section and represents the American Library Association on Building and Equipment section of the IFLA, the International Federation of Libraries. It's a pleasure to have Danelle here with us tonight. She drove up from Dallas to be here to make this presentation to us. And I can tell you, we have got winners on our team, and Danelle is one of those. So it's a pleasure having you here tonight, Danelle.
I'm not sure how that comes up, because that's not it's got to come back on. But first of all, I'd like to thank JD again for that nice introduction, and council and mayor, and actually all the citizens of Bethany. I've been fortunate enough to specialize in library. I worked in libraries in high school and college. I had a library trustee. But now I've been fortunate enough to get to design and plan and work on libraries. And there's certain ones that are special in your career, and this is one of them. And a lot of that has to do with this community, the way they came forward and got involved and really put the vote behind what they believed in, and are going to build an incredible facility that you all will be proud of. And I don't know what it's doing. It's like up there in the corner. Yeah, there's one. There we go. And now. Okay, that's probably that one. There it is, okay. Okay. So I want to spend a few minutes kind of talking about the project and then give you an opportunity to ask any questions. Our role, Dewberry's role, and the rest of our team actually started in September of 2015, where we were hired to look at the master plan and look at sites and programming. We started with community input, and like I said, this community, we had over 600 respond to surveys. We had open community meetings, more planned focus groups. They came out and they told us what they thought. And what was interesting, there were 5 things that really rose to the top early in the input sessions. The first was children. We have to plan a library that provides programming space and spaces for children. I mean, it's clear that this community really supports education and family and this lifelong learning, starting it at a very early age with early literacy. The second one was a little surprising that got the most comments, and that had to do with the exterior of the building. They really did care what it looked like. And we gave them lots of options, and overwhelmingly, they didn't pick very traditional, and they didn't pick modern. They picked what we call more transitional. And you can see from that picture, it fits in more with the residential and even the municipal complex of the library. They kept putting dots on pictures that had a lot of glass, that was very open and inviting, but not imposing. They wanted it very open. The third had to do with exterior spaces. They really wanted things like porches in the park, and they wanted it to be a community place, both inside and outside the building. The books were still important as well. Collection came in fourth. But it wasn't just the collection, it was making that collection accessible. So they wanted it more browsing, user-friendly, more like a bookstore and not your traditional warehouse of tall, intimidating shelves of books. Meeting spaces was very, very critical. There were 5 kinds of meeting spaces that were very important. A big multi-purpose one that had a lot of flexibility for lots of kinds of seating. They wanted group study rooms. They wanted a quiet place that you could come to the library and it could be full of kids, but you could still research and study. And then the last one was a place where you could meet to create content. So things like videos and using media and technology, so a makerspace, media type space. And the last one had to do with staffing. They wanted the building design to be very efficient for staffing, and I'll talk about that a little more when we go through the plans. But they wanted to use technology in a way that gave staff able to do things more efficiently and be patron-oriented. And that included things also like a drive-through book return. They wanted to be able to return their materials when it's raining or the library's closed and still get them inside the library. The site. This is a copy of the site plan. Oh, shoot. I apologize. I didn't have my phone.
60. Page 60.
Let's see. Get this turned on. And the pointer won't turn on. Okay. Wow, now I'm very embarrassed that the pointer won't turn on. So I apologize. I will try to talk you through it. But the site is the site of the existing library. The new building will be just south of the existing building. The parking will be along the north, so it pushes the building adjacent to the pond instead of up in that corner. So there'll be parking facing the police substation or police facility. The things that are happening with the building is it's situated so one, it has views of the pond. It makes use of north light. It provides for a drive-through access along the side. And it also includes a lot of park improvements. We're improving the edge of the pond by raising, doing edging, stone edging, That will, one, make it safer, also to help reduce maybe the number of waterfowl that are attracted to the park, not to keep them totally out, but to make it a more pleasant place for everyone to share the park. It will have a fountain in the middle of the pond to help aerate and keep it in good condition. And then there's a long walking trail that will go around the pond and around the library and then through the little finger that comes up past City Hall. And it's about a quarter of a mile a loop that will be available. It's also going to have amenities like bike racks, benches, trash, dog waste dispensing. So it's really designed to be a park that is being used. And again, that's something we heard repeatedly when we looked at different sites in the community. The citizens were very adamant that they really liked that destination of the park and the library together. I'm going to go through a number of exterior views, and again, I apologize, it's a little hard to see. This is from one looking up from the air. The majority of the building is a brick in color that very much like this building and the police. The police and City Hall are slightly different, and it's kind of in between those two. There is some stone in the project. The main wall, and you'll see this in some upcoming images, is the organizing element within the building, and it is natural stone wall, but the rest of the building is brick, with the upper areas of the spine having metal panels for durability and maintenance, and then some metal panels on the high clear story roof as well. This view is if you were coming down towards 35th, looking at the northwest corner. And that corner there is the meeting room. You can start seeing the stone wall coming out, and that part of the concept not only to organize inside the building, but also out. Anywhere you park, you'll see that element with the big words library, drawing you to know where the front door of the building is. This is if you come around, in fact, I think I went to, didn't I? Yeah, this is head-on looking at the north elevation. So if you were standing outside the police station looking across 35th Street, this is a view you would see with the meeting room, large meeting room on the right, the stone wall orienting you to the entry, which is the high area through the building, and then looking into children's. So a lot of that north light is coming into the children's area, and then their program room on the corner. And then as you turn around, this is looking from the northeast, and you can start seeing some of the outdoor spaces. There's a children's porch, which is off of their children's program room, that can be used at any time, but it also can be used for children's programming that you want to do in a more exterior element, but protected. And then farther down that wall is the what we're calling the adult sitting porch. This is another view. You can see the corner here that you see a little X behind the glass. That's the quiet reading room, which is designated as a place to go and read quietly. And then just to the right of that, you see two bays. That's the adult reading porch that overlooks the pond. Then we have 4 study rooms along that wall, and then there's another part of the building that juts out. That's the children's program room. This starts moving around from the southwest corner, and you start seeing the west side, which has very little glass because it's west. It does have the drive-through book return, so patrons can drive through, return their materials, and then go park and come in, or they can bring their materials in. But it also has the service entry and the mechanical and dumpster screening yards in that area as well. The floor plan, and again, I wish we had a bigger screen. But the entry is at the north. You see the two kind of light blue squares. The first area is a vestibule, and then the second is the internal lobby. And as you come in, you can either go straight ahead into the library, or if it's after hours, those doors could be locked, and you'll just have access to the restrooms, the large multipurpose meeting room, and the smaller conference room kitchen area. That multipurpose room has a divider in it at 2/3 and 1/3. If that divider wall is up, it can seat up to 300 people in auditorium-type seating. We've done 3 different layouts showing, round tables, training-type tables, or auditorium seating. And so there's just a lot of flexibility. There's been a lot of discussions about that divider wall. The one that's in the project is one that really will allow both sides to be used at the same time. It's actually electric, and it does go up into the ceiling. So when it's up, you have the full floor space for that. So once, that whole meeting complex has the potential to have 3 meetings going on or programs going on at once. And then you can enter into that 3rd set of automatic doors into the main library. And that you'll be in the tall spine space, and I'll show some renderings or images in a minute. But that opens you into where the librarians are. You'll see friendly faces as you come in that can help you. The collection, the adult collection, will be there in front of you. If you keep going all the way down, you'll walk through the public computers, and then there's that lime green at the end, which is the teen area. The pink up at the top is the children's, and you can see there's a lot of space dedicated to children. And it starts from the area with early literacy type interactives and picture books and board books, to parenting sections, to young readers, fiction and nonfiction. It also includes a program room with storage that the library staff can do, all kinds of different programs. And then you can see in the light pink off to the side is that outdoor enclosed program space. And then if you look all the way to the right, which is the east side, you see the 4 different study rooms, again, that have both glass inside and the exterior wall. So that will bring light in, as well as the adult porch, the quiet reading down in the lower right. And then the gray is the staff areas. So it includes things like, their work areas, their delivery and receiving, storage, data closets, and RFID. And I'll talk about that in a little later as well. So this is a view on the left, shows that you've just walked in those front doors. You're looking at that second set of doors that let you into the rest of the library. You see windows to the left that are just can be used for display, but they also, you can see through them into the children's area. You can't get in there from there, but you can see in there. And then to the right, you can see the corner of the smaller conference room. And the wall to the right is a stone wall that goes the whole length of the building, from outside through the building and on down. So from that point, if you look to the right, you would be looking to the hallway that has vending. We have some seating out there for food and drink, as well as the smaller conference room. And then you see the 2 doors at the end of the hall are the doors that go to the 2 sides of the large multipurpose room. This is one view looking into that multipurpose room with tables, round tables for more kind of a banquet type seating. Another view set up more for training. Again, it's a room that has a very dynamic ceiling, sloped, that lets a lot of nice light in as well. And then this is a view of the smaller multipurpose conference room. This view is if you went through those doors and now you're just stepped into the main library and you're looking towards the southeast corner. So far left is the start of study rooms. The shelving you're seeing, there aren't any books on it yet. It hasn't been furnished. But the shelves represent, new books. They're on shelving that's lower, like the citizens asked for. None of the shelving is any higher than me. They're all more display type, so the library can do both face out or spine out. And a lot of the shelving is actually on wheels so that it can be reconfigured and moved around. So a lot of what this building's about is flexibility, so that it works today, but that it can change over time. We tried to build in as little as possible. This is looking back towards the adult computers and then back into the reading areas and the nonfiction collections. This is looking along the south side of the library, looking into the park to the right, or along the windows. There's windows all along there, and you can see there's a variety of types of seating. And then at the end of that is the glassed-in quiet reading room. And this is the inside of the quiet reading room, which has, tables for quiet study, research, as well as lounge seating to read quietly. This is one of the study rooms. Like we said, there's 4. They're color-coded with different accent walls, but they all have visibility both inside and out to the pond. The children's area is not brighter, and I apologize, the colors here aren't as vibrant as they are in real life in the samples. But it's not themed to be something that's trendy or timeless. It's more, or to be more timeless. It's designed just with color. And both the building committee and the library staff had a lot of input in not only the colors, but also, the feel of the space. This is another view looking towards the children's program space on the early literacy area. Their program room does have a built-in counter. Like I said, we tried to make the building very flexible, so we don't have a lot of built-in cabinet work except where we really need it for sink. So for cleanup and arts and crafts and things like that. The floor in there is hard, unlike most of the rest of the building has carpet, but it's out of good rubber tile that is soft in sound and foot traffic and for sitting on. Another view of the program room, it can be, again, it has its own storage room for its tables and chairs, so it can be set up and used in lots of different ways. The teen area is not an enclosed space. The children's is not either, but it's in an alcove. The teens is at the end of the spine, and intentionally we're using shelving to keep that space flexible over time. And also we found that the teens actually behave better when they're not in an enclosed space. Once you glass them in, they feel like they have free reign. So it's a nice balance. But it's very distinct in its colors, its carpet, its lighting. The lighting and the acoustic clouds in teens are different than children's, which are different than adults. So the idea is that we don't need a lot of signage telling people where they need to go, that it should be very intuitive. And then this is another view from the teens at the back looking towards the entry of the library. The other space I didn't talk about is if you look at the teens there in the light lime green, and then to the left of it is that innovation lab, which is the place where to create content, and that can be videoing, it could be sound recording, it could be using 3D printers to create a product that you designed, and the purpose of that is it's a multi-purpose, flexible space. To change over time that adults, teens, children, anyone could use. But it's in a location close to teens because our experience has been they tend to be the ones at the age that they are into creating content and using 3D printers and that. And then that other area, the gray I talked about, some of the technology we're using there's a lot in the building, but there's also for the staff. They The drive-up return will go through, your materials will go through a slot and be scanned by an RFID reader. All the materials are tagged, like anything you get from basically Amazon or any of the big companies. That scan then will go on a conveyor belt and it will sort into bins, however the library decides to have it broken up. So a children's nonfiction book may go in one bin and a children's picture book may go in another, and an AV. But what that does is someone could drive through, return their materials, it would be checked in, already scanned, so when they come in, even if they had just books on hold and go to check them out, it'll allow them to check them out right away because the other ones have already been returned. And it also allows the staff to get those books on the shelf much quicker. Ones that someone has put on hold, like a bestseller, it will have scanned it and put it into a holds bin. So now if you came up and said, here, I'm here for my holds, it would already have been processed and be there. So the technology is there for patrons to use, but it's also there for the staff to do their jobs more efficiently. And with that, I can go back. I would like to answer any questions you may have, something that I wasn't clear on, or just, I know, yes?
I have a question on that quiet room. I saw the 4 chairs in there.
No, it's you were seeing part of it. I mean, you can't get back far enough the way the computer does views. But it does only have seating for 7. And we've done that, again, intentionally. All the ones that have been bigger, people don't use them. People that are wanting a quiet reading room want that coziness, that feel of a more traditional library. So often and in this case we're doing the same thing. The woods are darker. It has a different look and feel than the rest of the library. But there's also the study rooms, which will help make the library quieter as well. So if a group of students are in there working on a project and they're making a lot of noise, it's really easy to say, hey, why don't you use one of these study rooms? We have technology in there with media, and you'll make the rest of the library quieter. So there's a lot of those kind of options. But yes, it's not a big room. But like I said, when we've done the big rooms, and I visit libraries everywhere I go in the United States and the world, and the big rooms, there's something that doesn't have that coziness to people. It's the only thing I can figure out. But the minute they cut them in half, people start using them. Any other questions?
Yes, but can you break the number of computers down by location?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you have them at the top of your head? The children, let's see, they have 4, 5, 6. No, children have 2, 4, 6, 10.
Children has 6,
6,
teen has 6, and the adults are
4, 28. I think we did 24, and then we're also talking about we'll have laptops to check out and use other places.
So upwards above 30.
So,
Total
yeah,
computer.
there's 36.
36 computers.
Yeah.
Half of them, or 3/4 of them will be used for adults. The remaining amount will be used for the younger
Yes,
students
yes.
and people that use it.
Now, I would assume, and you can answer, the adults can be used by teens working on projects and things too.
the adults are available for
Anybody.
The children's just have computer game like games on it. They can't access the internet, and the teen ones are an age lock, so they can only use them if they're a certain
Age, so there's controls on them.
Now, I also have another question. That the building is approximately 3 times as large as the previous building, which was on the location. Give or take, maybe 5% or less.
Yeah, the building's just over 23,000. It's about 23,500 square feet. The existing building was 8,500 100 square feet.
Yes, and we have added to this building a area for meetings, meeting rooms, or something that would be used for a large gathering of people to receive information for whatever purpose they may want them. And I did an overlay on the parking, and we had somewhere around 87 or 88 parking places at the old location. And we have approximately 101 parking places for the new population, or the new location. And if you have the possibility of upwards of 300 seats for the seating in those two, and if you put the two locations together. And when you consider that you possibly could have 2 people per car, that would be my guess. That would be the best guess I could give. You're way short on parking, because I think about 8 to 10 years ago, there was a very, very contentious battle over parking places at that area. We had to put the whole east parking lot in because we didn't have enough parking for a facility that is 1/3 the size of the facility that we're building at the present time.
Well, the old meeting, the calculations include parking on the street for those overflow type spaces. But the typical code for libraries is around 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet. So that would be about 92 spaces, and we have a little more than that. But there are peak times that people will be parking other places.
Well, we only have one street that would be permissible to park on, that would really afford itself, would be 35th Street, which is just to our south here.
Mm-hmm.
And it backs up to the police department. It is the flow out of this particular building, and that makes a very congested street, particularly when you turn 300 people loose at the same time out of a meeting. And I'm very concerned about parking, plus the fact that parking on the streets takes a beautiful building and masks it off from what you can see.
Correct me if I'm wrong, are the larger meeting rooms, wouldn't those be used mainly after hours? In my head,
There'll
that's
be, there's also the peak time. And so
peak time for those meeting rooms
would be in the evenings. And
So
so
then we
like
would
you can also park at,
City
City
Hall,
Hall.
right.
And that was discussed. It's like any other building, and I'll use a church as an example. You don't design the parking for that Christmas and Easter. You shared, and it's good use of dollars and land. We could put more parking on the site, and we had lots of discussions about it, but listening to the citizens and the importance of the green space and the park overruled those few times when people may have to walk a little farther because they park somewhere else. For the day-to-day, most meetings will be in the 100 people size, typically.
Well, if that's the case,
150.
why do we build 300 seating places if the majority is going to be at 100?
For those times, and that's why we divided it, so that we can have multiple meetings going on, because that need is there. But that still, by opening that wall, gives us that flexibility for those big community events that you want that kind of space. And we heard it over and over again from the citizens that that is really needed in Bethany. There's not a place like that.
This is true. There's probably only 8 churches in the city of Bethany that's as large as that building. And it has been, we have not had the problem with having places to, I don't feel we've had places. The churches have stepped up and allowed us to use their facilities at almost any time we wanted to if we thought we had it large enough. And the Children's Center we have used that particular location. And it seems that we've taken a bigger look at the exterior, the green space, the areas that you want to look pretty, and we need a utilitarian building here to make it as cost effective as we possibly can.
Well, one of the other things that we were trying to do is because at the existing building, people were parking on 35th Street all the time because that was closer than a lot of the other parking down into the park. So we tried to concentrate the parking on the north side so the distances were closer to the front door, which again was a request by the community.
And we're going to need 300 seats for your 60th wedding anniversary next year.
I think you're being optimistic. I think it'd probably be more than that.
Mr. Shire, I just want to make sure I get an invitation.
Say again?
I just want to make sure that you invite all of the city council to your...
No.
Other questions, comments?
Hey, you better behave.
Thank you very much, Danelle.
All right.
Really appreciate it. I see that Kathy Larson is with us this evening, and she worked on this library project for quite a long period of time. In fact, before I came here, she and I were visiting about the library, and she had told me about some of the folks that are involved that I'm introducing. And Todd Oberlin, she put me in contact with Todd and led me to that excellent part of our team. We just heard from Danelle, which was another piece of that excellent team. The next person that she mentioned was that the executive director of Metropolitan Library Systems, and said that I really like him, and that was the case. Tim Rogers has been with MLS in Oklahoma County since January of 2015. He's held senior leadership positions in library organizations in New York, Kansas, North Carolina, and now in Oklahoma. The MLS recently completed the Jones Library in December of 2016. We'll soon complete the Capitol Hill Library in August of 2017, and we'll soon begin the Belle Isle Library renovation in 2017 and the Del City Library in 2018. He's been involved in about a dozen library construction renovation projects in his career, and he's, as I said, he's been great to work with and kind of a partner in crime with us as well. So at this point, I'd like to invite Todd to the stand.
Hi, folks. Thank you very much for all of the support that the City Council, certainly it's great to meet the new mayor. I apologize that we haven't met before, but this is an exciting project for us. It is certainly the jewel of the Metropolitan Library System, or will be within a year or so. It incorporates a lot of the technology and the services that will be part of our strategic plan, not just in the next 5 years, but over the next 10 years. Part of what we've developed is a 20-year goal of getting everyone in the county using a library in some way, shape, or form. This library will allow us to actually incorporate many of the services that we've identified. Danelle mentioned a few of those, not just the technology that everybody thinks is an ooh and ah type thing, But here in Bethany, reading is still a major component of what the library does. And although the quiet reading room is small, it will really pack a punch. It'll be a great addition to the library system, and certainly bigger than the quiet reading room that you have now, which I suppose would be the bathroom in the older facility. I think that one thing that I do specifically want to mention, and Mr. Shirey brought up the issue of the meeting room. Part of what we see as Metropolitan Library System's mission is to be the single largest educational institution across the county. We serve all of the educational institutions that serve the community members. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about K-12, whether we're talking about higher education, or whether we're talking about the majority of people across Oklahoma County that aren't enrolled in a formal education setting. We help them learn new things every day. And the meeting room, as well as all of the spaces that you saw, will help us really achieve that mission of growing smarter communities one person at a time and being the community's hub for critical thinking, creative problem solving, and lifelong enrichment. Oftentimes we think that libraries don't need to be buildings anymore. And in fact, before I took this job at Metropolitan Library System, I ran a digital library service across North Carolina. It was one of the most fun, exciting things that I've done in my career. However, one of the pieces that was absolutely missing was the connection with human beings, actual people who walk in the doors. And while I would agree that you can never have enough parking, so I work at the downtown library where I can tell you, you never have enough parking. I do think that it is really important that we provide a space where people can join, where they can be part of the community together. Those community rooms are not just learning centers for, as I said, the formal education, but I just came from a meeting, so unfortunately I'm the president of my homeowners association, and I just came from the village library where we held our homeowners association meeting. It is the only meeting room in the village that we can meet in. It's the only meeting room large enough to hold our entire homeowners association. So oftentimes what we find is that libraries become really that community center, but it's not just a community center that is a place where you come in and you go to a meeting and you leave. It's a place where you go in and you really experience the sense of community that has brought all of those things together. Danelle showed the pictures of all of the shelves without books on them. I can guarantee that we will fill those shelves before we open. And I appreciate all that you have done, all that the committee has done previously. Certainly everything that Danelle has done. She has been, without Danelle, this would have been a tough deal without a doubt. Todd Olberding worked with the library for years, and if anybody can bring this project in on time and on budget, it's Todd. So I'm really appreciative for all of the effort that you've all put in. I know that it's a big expense, and I appreciate the commitment and the investment that you're making, not just in the library, but in the community of Bethany. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Tim, were you going to introduce your other folks from MLS that are with us
I wasn't
tonight?
sure if you did that already, JT. So I apologize. Like I said, I came from my homeowners association. And then as I came in on 39th Street, there were geese crossing the street. So like 4 lanes of traffic stopped for these geese. It was like a children's book right there. So, yeah. I did want to introduce the library manager for the Bethany Library is Erin Bedford. And Erin's been with the library for a number of years, and she, stand up there. And this is Erin. Most of you probably know her. Erin does a fantastic job. We've tried several times to promote her to other libraries. She said, no, I want to stay here. This is a fantastic library. And of course, you know, she's seen the pictures all the way from the beginning. So you've really got one of our best here in Erin. And then Watzel Carlson is our newest library commissioner from Bethany. She represents the entire city on the Metropolitan Library Commission. She does that dutifully, and she has never missed a meeting. She's also, as many of you know, been a friend of the library for a number of years and responsible for the single largest book sale over a weekend in the United States. So thank you, Watzel, for all the work. And of course, Gilbert is sitting next to her, and he drives her around. So did I miss anybody? And then Kathy Larson, of course, had chaired the committee and really led the committee to get this library built. Arleta Harris also has been a big inspiration in this. I know when I first came, I think I had been here 3 or 4 weeks when we had the Bethany 50th anniversary of the older building. And I remember standing in the meeting room and everyone saying, "Oh yeah, we're getting close. I think I can feel it. I can feel the wind that is coming." And I wasn't sure that it was going to happen this fast. And having worked, Todd will, I'm sure, agree with this, having worked with Oklahoma City on a number of projects, I can't believe the speed that this building is getting done already. So again, thank you all very much. I won't take any more of your time, JD, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you all for being here tonight. Finally, last but certainly not least, kind of softballs on our mind these days, our closer for tonight is our current chairman of our committee. Dr. Arleta Harris has a master's in library science from the University of Illinois and a doctorate in public administration from the University of Texas at Arlington. She served 31 years as a public library director and 5 years as the academic library director. And then 10 years as a professor teaching master's level courses at the University of North Texas, including library buildings course. So as I said before, we really have had an amazing team through this whole series. And so now batting cleanup is Dr. Harris.
And I'll have to tell Tim that at our retreat the other day, we all agreed that things get done faster and we have a better response rate in Bethany. So police, fire, whatever, libraries, we do it faster. I decided I would give some perspective since I've been in libraries for so long and have really had a relationship with the Metropolitan Library System and with Janelle Wrightson. So it was 1965 when I was working on the development of library systems in Illinois. And that's when I became aware of the Metropolitan Library System. It was developing at the same time. And it quickly became one of the best library systems in the nation. And we have the pride of being a part of that library system. And then 10 years later, I was working with Forrest Phillips, whose architectural firm became Phillips Swager, which then became PSA Dewberry, and now here we are with Dewberry. And I met Janelle Wrightson during those early PSA Dewberry days, I think, in Texas. And we shared the platform at some Library Association conferences talking about library buildings. We taught a couple of library buildings courses together at the University of North Texas. And I visited many of the libraries that she has designed. Some libraries win awards because they're designed by architects, and architects are the people that decide which libraries get the awards. But they don't function well as libraries. And when Janelle designs a library, it works as a library, works well as a library, and it still gets awards, but those awards come from librarians and not just from architects. So I want to thank Kathy Larson and her committee for selecting Dewberry as our architect because they truly are the best. And Janelle, I think, is the best library architect in the world. And I think we're getting your last building, aren't we? But I'm proud of the work that she has done around the world. So tonight, we are beginning in Bethany the construction of a library that has been designed by, I think, the world's best library architect and will be operated by the best library system. You can't beat that. Library lovers from everywhere will come to visit this library, and we have the pride of knowing that it's ours. They'll just come to visit. We'll use it all the time. So as chair of the Library Committee of the Bethany City Council, it gives me great personal and professional pleasure to move the approval of Resolution 1443 to approve and release the library bid documents so that the construction of this amazing building can begin and we want the entire community to come and help break ground for it at 10 a.m. on Saturday, August the 12th.
Do we have a second? Did you? Please cast your votes. I'd like to personally thank everybody that's been involved in this. Obviously, some of us sitting up here have not been. We are newly elected. But I'd like to thank Mrs. Larson and Dr. Harris and everybody that's hands and heart have been involved in this. This is an example to me of a vision coming true, and I'm big on that. And it's taken a lot of people and a lot of work, and we're not finished yet, but one day we will walk into that building and it'll be a reality, and I just love that. So thank you everybody that's been involved in this. This is exciting. Item 4 tonight is a public hearing item, discussion, consideration, and comments concerning the fiscal year 2018 budget for the general fund, miscellaneous other funds, and various trusts. I would like to say that in thinking through this and having several discussions, we felt like it was important to hold another workshop for our budget. I think we all have a lot of things we want, and there are a lot of things that we need. And so we are scheduling another workshop to get all council members together so that we can all voice our thoughts and lay everything on the table and really come together with a strong budget proposal and move forward successfully in this next year. And so I look forward to that, and we will be bringing that, the budget, Lord willing, for a vote on the 20th, our next city council meeting.
Okay, I'll provide, before we have the public hearing, a few comments regarding the budget, budget highlights. I'll try not to go into too much detail, but before I came here, I think our community had done so much heavy lifting with having put together a wonderful document known as our comprehensive plan. And from the point I first arrived, really we began working on this budget. So it's kind of been almost 9 months in the workings. And with that, I will first comment that this entire budget primarily is predicated on the comprehensive plan. So with that, let me offer a few comments to you to kick this off. Overall, the city is doing very well financially. In 2016, the city received an S&P Global long-term rating of AA-. A number of factors went into that. One of those, though, was our unrestricted cash position was over $17 million at the time. So that was $17 million unrestricted cash position in 2016. By the end of the really good news is by the end of this fiscal year, which will be later this month, we are currently projecting our unrestricted cash to be over $22 million. So we have really good news as far as our finances are concerned. Combine that with an additional $7 million that we have that is in restricted funds. That is, we're pushing $30 million in our overall cash position. An additional comment along those lines, while it's typically recommended to have at least 3 months cash on hand, oftentimes it's recommended to have 6 months operating cash on hand. The city of Bethany actually has well over an entire year. In fact, we're currently projecting in total of 15 months of unrestricted cash on hand to cover any sort of shortfalls that we might have. judging by the comprehensive plan and the community feedback that's been drawn from that process, it appears the residents of Bethany may have a certain expectation of a certain level of services that they may be expecting from the city of Bethany. As we move through this budget, we are currently projecting next year's end of year, after all the projects that are proposed, if all of those projects are completed, that our unrestricted cash reserve will still be over $20 million. So that will represent the second highest unrestricted cash reserve in the city's history. So you might keep in mind that we were at the $17 million range when we received our AA-. So we will be in an improved position than what we were when we received that great rating. Debt trends, I'd like to visit for a moment about that. Currently, the city is paying down debt at a rate of $1.5 million per year, which is substantial. And that does include the relatively new library project that we were just talking about that the taxpayers voted on. That library project has a 20-year indebtedness that will run through June of 2036. But outside of that brand new debt that I just referred to for the library, all other notes are scheduled to have been paid off by March 18th of 2029, which is approximately 13 years from now. So we have great news as far as our debt position is concerned. Additionally, I might mention that contingencies that we had noticed that we had actually previously double booked contingencies. We were anticipating having $1.4 million in contingency reserves for this year, but due to the way it actually is booked, we actually set aside $2.6 million for this year. So that also is available. In our new budget year, we're anticipating a contingency of $1.285 million, and I think that will be well sufficient for any sort of unexpected items that might come up. In addition, organization realignment, I believe one of the things I've visited with pretty much since I've been here as well is in light of our comprehensive plan that we may need to do some organizational realignment to be able to carry out those things that are contemplated in the comprehensive plan. With that, we also, in the comprehensive plan, one of those items, and it's also in the packet here, the comp plan summary was a contemplation of our solid works, let me try that again, of our solid waste pickup and the way that we do that. It was contemplated originally in the comp plan as just strict outsourcing. However, in our preliminary look at it, it looks like we might be able to do it in-house and be beneficial all the way around to the organization and community. But that day of vetting that will be in the future. It's not today. The point today is that we just have set aside funds in the eventuality or in the possibility that would come about. If that does come about, that will free up a number of positions within Public Works that will no longer be required to ride on the back of the trucks. And by the way, that is back-breaking work, and it tends to be our area of some of our most dangerous work and injury-related type of work. And so those folks that are currently doing that type of work will be able to be, if we keep it in-house, will be able to be redeployed elsewhere within the Public Works umbrella and be able to, again, assist us to be able to carry out those things that are mentioned in the comprehensive plan, such as streets, parks, and facility maintenance. The comprehensive plan also talked about potentially having a completely new department called a Parks Department, and would have a Parks Director. We have included monies in the budget for that. However, in looking at it, we may be able to arrive at efficiencies by perhaps having that aligned within the Public Works Department, but yet have a focus on that type of function. So we still have a little bit of work to do in that area. But planning and development services, having someone be a planner for the city of Bethany and allow our city engineer to devote his time to being a city engineer instead of having it's split in so many different directions. Also, as city clerk, JR has a lot of hats that he wears in the organization, and I think most organizations, even of half of our size, has those positions split in order to have a segregation of duties, and then be able to have then the CFO concentrate on finances. Our capital assets, of course, is the major area beyond our regular services that our employees provide. I would say that our employees provide the most valuable service to the community and to the organization. But beyond those are our special and capital projects. Of course, we've heard the one big capital project that we have going on for this year, the library bond project, which is in the neighborhood of $8.1 million. We have a total of $15.2 million in capital projects identified, but the lion's share of that is that library project I just mentioned at $8.1 million, and a sanitary sewer system project, which has already been approved by you all at $3.1 million. The rest of the projects include the automation of solid waste, which I just spoke about a moment ago, having ADA measures being taken here at City Hall, a water booster pump and tank repair, the restoration of certain parts of our cemetery, the improvement of entryway signage into our community, foundation repair at the fire department, radio system agreement for the police and fire departments, playground equipment and splash pads, 3 police cars which are paid for through the impound release fund, sidewalk, street projects, and potentially a street sweeper. Again, most of those projects will be vetted at a later date, but the point of the budget is to reserve funds that we anticipate potentially taking on those projects. Special funding requests, we have a Chamber of Commerce agreement, which you all have already approved, that is set to begin on July 1. The rewrite of our municipal code and public transportation. And it was, again, the lion's share of the things that are in here are predicated on the comprehensive plan, and that's where most of those things came from. And in fact, in your packets, we have the comprehensive plan highlights in it, and that's found on page 7 of the packet in the budget highlights. Code enforcement, circulation and mobility, parks, sanitation, sanitary sewer, streets, and cemetery were all things that were specifically identified in the comprehensive plan, and we have allocated budget money toward that for this coming year. In addition to those, we also have a number of the other projects that, although we don't have budget money set aside for this year, we're beginning to work on them in anticipation of either they will require expenditures or maybe they won't require expenditures, they just require work. And that includes housing, working on the city charter, homes, infrastructure and water, storm drainage, all sorts of street avenues as far as mixed use with downtown, 23rd Street character, Council Road, Rockwell, North Rockwell, and the Lake District. So as you can see, a lot of these things that were in the comprehensive, almost everything in the comprehensive plan is being addressed. And all the street areas that I mentioned a moment ago, the reason we don't have dollars allocated toward those yet is because the plan hasn't been developed. But as we talked about at our retreat the other day, we have an effort underway that's going to start out on the North District neighborhood to promote community involvement through neighborhood visioning process. And so I anticipate us being able to duplicate that throughout the community in all these various districts. It's a very exciting time, and I am so pleasured to have been brought here at this time with these folks and dealing with these circumstances that we're able to take this up. There are a couple other real quick things I might mention that are kind of out there that are going to need to be dealt with as well, but we don't have a plan. We don't know exactly how much we're looking at, and it's probably going to take us at least a year to get plans put together anyway, and that's regarding drainage. We have a 75-year-old drainage problem in our community, and kind of like we didn't build Rome in a day. Well, the drainage didn't happen overnight. It's not going to be able to be fixed overnight, but we do anticipate us beginning to work on that, as well as our water supply. We're all very aware of the contamination that exists in the groundwater. Our water supply is safe. What we are supplying to the residents are without contaminants, to our knowledge, carcinogens, and it nevertheless begs of, well, what additional water supply options do we have, and could we potentially drill additional wells on the north side? And so those things will be looked at as well. So I think, Mr. Mayor, with that, I'll close my comments and turn it back to you.
This is a public hearing item, so do we need to hear from anybody that may have anything they want to say? Is there anybody that would like to speak on this?
If I could have the mic brought to me. Thank you for accommodating me. A couple of things that have come up on the budget that have been addressed to me by some of my neighbors is in the automation of the trash. You have some alleys, and specifically in the Brownsville area, where automated trash is not going to be conducive. The layout of that neighborhood and the design of the initial, from the get-go with that neighborhood, was to have the trash as well as the garages on the backside alley. How do you intend to accommodate that? Because your trucks won't get through the alleys. That's my first question.
Okay, very good. I made a note of that. I believe that's still under study right now.
I'm sorry?
I believe that is still being studied right now, how we can best address that. I don't believe we have a...
My
but I am aware of
investigations in
it.
the past have been that there would be an additional cost for outside services to go ahead and pick it up as it's being done. As a city, you should keep one of your trucks to do it would be advantageous. Mm-hmm. One thing I would like to see you do on the budget, you keep referring to comprehensive ideas, things that you want to include in the budget. I think you need to be more specific, please, so that the public knows what you plan to do with these funds. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? If nobody else, we'll move on to item number 5. Adoption of resolution number 1445, approving the trust indenture for the Bethany Economic Development Authority, BEDA, authorizing the mayor to execute as trustor and approval of appointment of 5 members to the Bethany Economic Development Authority.
I move we accept the names submitted here.
Do you have that list of names?
I do. Todd Kraut, Mark Privet, Ken Smart, Gilbert Carlson, and Kent Schellenberger.
I have Kent Schellenberger on a 3-year term, Gilbert Carlson on a 3-year term, Dr. Privet on a 2-year term, Ken Smart on a 2-year, and Todd Kraut on a 1-year. Is that a motion?
Yeah,
Well, that motion, pardon me, probably should be amended to approve resolution number 1445, which approves the creation of the trust and appoints those members with the terms you described.
I concur with that. I apologize, I didn't catch on that. But yes, I agree. My motion is, item number 7.
I'll second that motion.
Please cast your votes.
I'd like to I'd like to have some clarification on this, please.
Yes, sir.
I think economic development is an absolute total necessity for this town. And I can say personally, from my own standpoint, I have probably brought more economic development into this town than any other person in this town, other than the people that brought the aircraft in. And I think the people that are on this board should have some skin in the game in the city of Bethany. So what I'm asking, are all of these people that are here, are they Bethany residents?
4 of the 5 are, and I was allowed to pick one that is not a Bethany resident, and that would be Todd Kraut, who's on the 1-year term.
Can I ask a question? You were allowed, who allowed you?
The trust indenture provides that no more than one trustee can be a non-resident.
So that was in the body of the writing of the trust?
Right, but, you know, it certainly could say all of them have to be, those are just the instructions I was given in preparing the trust, but I think the thought at the time was that by limiting yourself to strictly to members of the city, you might be foreclosing the service of someone who might have some great ideas or some contacts that a Bethany resident might not. But certainly that's up to this council if you want them all to be Bethany residents.
Well,
You
Todd
could do that.
represents Bethany Bank, which I think is important in our community.
Well, and I think it's also important to have an objective perspective, to look outside the box, and provide that insight.
I picked him because I felt like he's the commercial lender for Bethany, and so there's some expertise there of if we're dealing with, commercial properties or businesses trying to bring them in, he would have some kind of understanding.
I wouldn't say he's the commercial lender for Bethany. He might be for the Bank of Bethany. Right?
Bank of Bethany. That's
Not for the city.
correct. I meant the Bank of Bethany. Yes. I thought that was. I stand corrected. You're right. So that was my reasoning for picking Mr. Kraut, that there's a level of expertise there to help new businesses understand what they need to do. Did we have a second? Okay. Please cast your votes.
Got us.
Now that passed.
Item 6 is approval of ordinance number 1936, amending Title III, Section 31.19 of Bethany Code of Ordinances pertaining to city manager's duties and purchasing and sale authority. A is approval of ordinance number 1936 on reading by title only.
Need a motion for that.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
I'd like to discuss a little bit if I possibly could.
This is for reading by title only.
Oh, title only, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
An ordinance amending Title III, Section 31.19 of the Bethany Code of Ordinances pertaining to city manager duties and purchasing and sale authority, providing procedures and limitations, providing for emergency purchases, increasing the purchase authority of the city manager to $50,000, providing for repealer and severability, and declaring an emergency. As is typical with the amending ordinances I prepare, you see the deletions with a strike through and the new language is in bold. I'll answer any questions you have about that. Did you have a staff report on that, JD?
We had discussed this at the council retreat, and I was asked to place this on the agenda. I believe all the materials are in the packet along with the comparison of other cities.
If I may ask some questions. Based upon the packet that we received, the language in bold is what is being added to the ordinance, is that right?
That's correct.
And as a part of the pre-existing ordinance, the city manager had the ability to transfer between offices, departments, and agencies. He could sell surplus or obsolete supplies, is that right?
That's correct.
That was in place at the time that the city manager had $17,000 in authority, is that right?
Correct.
So that's been the policy for how long?
I can't answer that a long time.
Okay. And so this would increase, and I guess the other question I had was related to the $75,000 emergency fund. Now, based upon the bold language in the ordinance proposed, prior to any emergency expenditure, either the mayor or any 3 council members may call an emergency meeting, is that right?
That's correct.
And then
Go ahead.
the
I
city-
was just going to say, there are 2 ways that you could fund an emergency. One would be under something like this, where the city manager has the authority subject to limitations. The other would be to call an emergency meeting of the city council, which can be done without the notice that's typically required to call the council.
And you're talking about the 24 hours prior to the expenditure?
That's the limitation I'm talking about.
And the city manager would be able to notify, was that the city council in writing or via email? Is that correct?
The $75,000 matches a provision in the Oklahoma Competitive Bidding Act, which authorizes a public entity to authorize their chief administrative officer to enter into emergency contracts for up to $75,000.
And by
That's where I came up with that number, in other words.
By raising this, that will allow certain city, not only the city manager, but then the police department, fire department, to buy goods and supplies with those funds, and they would not have to go through the bid process, is that correct? If it's below that amount?
Yes, under this ordinance, the city manager is granted the authority to make purchases up to the dollar amount, but he has the authority to delegate that authority to the various department heads, which is how it's typically done.
In some situations, that could lead to savings for the city of Bethany because they wouldn't have to go through the bid process, and they could buy those products at a substantial discount because the money's available.
Correct. And the only question on that issue is the dollar amount. Currently it's $17,000. The proposal here is $50,000. So that's the only issue with regard to that.
Other than that, we've talked about all the changes to the ordinance, is that right?
I believe so.
And at one time, the state rule is 50,000. At one time, ours was 25, and now it's 17, and
No, our purchasing limit for the city manager is not governed by state law. You by ordinance can set that limit wherever you want to. What I said was on the emergency purchase for 75,000, that is, I use that number because there's a counterpart to that in the Oklahoma Competitive Bidding Act.
But I think our leader's point is back in 1987, the limit for the city was $25,000 and it was not 17. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
it says here it was changed to 17 in 2004. I'm reading that second paragraph that says, based upon discussion held and feedback received, et cetera. Staff has prepared this resolution to reset the purchase authority delegated as allowed by state law to $50,000. So that is allowed by state law.
Where are you reading?
Page 1, item 6, ordinance number 1936, purchasing
Okay,
authority. Go to the second paragraph, and it's the
Are
first
you
sentence.
looking at the ordinance or the summary?
The summary.
The packet provided to the city
Okay,
council.
I don't have that right in front of me.
Okay.
Let me see what that says.
It makes it sound as if,
That's not entirely accurate, what that says, because our ordinance is what determines the city manager's purchasing ability, not state law. So state law doesn't set any limits on what he can purchase without.
May I make the suggestion? If there's any part of this that is not correct, I think we should table it and bring it back to the point that it needs to be brought back to correctly.
Well, the
Well, this-
ordinance is correct.
Right.
The summary or the narrative references that state law sets the purchasing limit, and that's not entirely accurate.
Well, the operative language, the actual language that would count would be the ordinance
Right.
and the changes made in the ordinance, which are provided in our packet. I think the information from the city is informative, but that's not conclusive, because once we pass the ordinance, that is the language that we will have to live by and operate by. Is that right?
That's correct.
Sound like a lawyer.
Well, I'm trying to make this easy on everybody.
Speaking of
Have
easy,
you
I
ever
did,
heard of a lawyer making anything easy on anybody?
I did a quick calculation.
Mr. Shire, it's a new day in Bethany.
I did a quick calculation, going from 17,000 to 50,000 in purchasing power, using the calculations of Edmond and the city of Oklahoma City. Going from 17,000 to 50,000 would move the city of Edmond's purchasing power to 880,000. It would move the city of Oklahoma City's to 6.2 million. That's just using land mass or population. You know, we're going to go from 17,000 to 50,000. We got 5 square miles,
I don't,
and there's 88 acres in the city of Edmond. There's 620 in the city of Oklahoma City.
I'd like to check your math on that.
88 times 10,000, do the math. Okay. Real simple.
I got a new iPad with a calculator. Let me figure that out, and I'll get back to you.
Okay. But going to $10,000 an acre is just, on as small a city, if you run the same numbers, we ought to go backwards, if anything.
I'm not sure that size of the city relates to this.
Well, you
I
could
mean,
use,
we
you
have-
could use size of budget, and it would actually go,
Well,
It
we
would go
have
way down,
Edmond
too.
and Ponca City with, one with 25,000 population, one with 81,000, and they both use 50,000, so I
Right,
think
but
it's
don't do
just
the math.
how
I think
we want to
ultimately it's a quality of life issue for the residents of Bethany. We're here to provide services for the residents and the community, and we need to do that at an effective cost. And this allows the city to function so that they can get the discount to buy the motorcycle that the police department needs at a discount to not only enforce the law, but improve the quality of life.
I understand that, but every dollar we raise up, the allowance is something we don't get a shot at, and something the public does not get to see. We never even hear about.
Well, that's the
No
ordinance.
transparency.
That's the ordinance as it is now with $17,000.
But it's 17,000 instead of 50.
Well, the problem is, I understand your issue on
Probably
the,
covers 99% of the purchases.
I understand your issue on the number, but the function of and the role of the city manager won't change.
No,
Okay. I'm glad we came to that understanding.
absolutely.
I've always felt that when we set a budget and there are items in the budget and they fall within the amount that is allocated, then it shouldn't have to keep coming back to us.
Well, the city of Oklahoma City,
Every time there is an item to buy that's already been covered by the budget and the monies have been appropriated.
you can't buy a
We
rubber
do
band
lot of that.
or a paperclip at the city of Oklahoma City unless you check who has the annual contract. And you know every year exactly who you go to for paper cups, who you go to for gasoline, everything is under contract. We don't have a purchasing situation like the city of Oklahoma City does. And that's why, and we're the stewards of the city's money. And it's gotta be watched tight.
You lost me.
There's two things.
We're the stewards of the city's money.
The fact that we're saying this ordinance was in 204, it went to $17,000. I think it was 2014, it went to $17,500, because at that time, the city manager could not buy a truck full of gas at a good price. He had to pay an additional price if he didn't buy $17,000 worth of it. So the city council said, okay, we'll go $17,000 because we know this will cover it. But we're not going to give you $50,000 so you can buy 2 loads, or $35,000 so you can buy 2 loads of gas at the same time.
So Councilman Shari, I understand what you're saying, but I think ultimately we're arguing about the number. What would be a number that would be acceptable to you?
$17,000.
Okay, so that's the bottom of the spectrum, and I would open up discussion to other members of the city council. What would be the top of the spectrum? Is that $50,000?
Looking at the staff report that we're given, about 60% of the cities are at 25,000. There's only 2 cities at 50,000. I personally would feel much more comfortable making it 25,000, leaving the emergency at 75 still.
I think that's a reasonable number. It's comfortable and gets enough discretion to the city manager to get the discount and provide for, the water main break, and it gives sufficient notice to all members of the city council related to what he's going to do before he makes the expenditure. So we have a safety valve there and an opportunity for approval, and I think that's reasonable, and I would agree with Councilman Herron. I think that that's the course we need to take tonight.
Is that a motion?
Can anybody bring up a time which we exceeded the $17,000 and had to call a special meeting of the city council to approve that?
We've done it several times, Mr. Shirey, and it was very easily done. We blew a pump out. Next day we called a meeting. Came here in the morning and boom, we're out here in
Bethany just 5 square miles?
5 square miles.
5 square miles.
They can swing a fire truck by and pick us all up.
Anybody lives in this city hall is less than 3 miles.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve this ordinance and set the amount at $25,000 and the reserve at $75,000.
That would actually be a motion to approve sections 1 through 3 with the $50,000 number being changed to 25. That would be the appropriate.
Given council's clarification, that would be my motion.
I'll second that.
Read the motion. Read the motion.
The motion is to approve sections 1 through 3 of the ordinance, but amending the $50,000 limit to $25,000.
Maintain the $75,000 for an emergency.
That hasn't been proposed as a change.
That has not been proposed.
And I would include that in my motion as part of the pending motions. Is that, well, as amended, related to the emergency fund, is that clear enough?
Well, no, I didn't know there was an amendment to the emergency part.
No, there's not.
Then I'm mistaken, because I was going off the fact that that was in bold.
I thought the motion was to approve the ordinance as written, except changing 50 to 25.
Page 3,
Yeah, I think you're approving that bold language at the bottom.
page 3C1 has not exceeding the sum of 75,000 with
That's the emergency.
17,000, right.
Right, and what I want to make sure we're clear on is, if you look at C1 and C2, there's some bold language, and it goes, not exceeding the sum of 75,000, replacing the number 17,000. And I think that's, everything else would be adopted by the city council as provided.
Right.
That was clear as mud.
8D and C1 are really talking about the same thing. C1 is the authorization for the city manager to declare the emergency.
You want me to clarify that again? Or do we have a standing motion?
I think the motion was clear, and that's to approve the ordinance 1 through 3 of the ordinance as written, but amending the $50,000 number to $25,000.
Correct.
That's what I heard, and I believe that's what was seconded.
Please cast your votes.
That passed. There also is an emergency clause, which is section 4, which will need to be voted upon separately or not at your choice.
I make a motion we do not vote on the emergency clause.
I'll second that.
Are you going to vote not to vote?
I don't think so. We don't have to do that, do we?
No, I don't think so. Unless somebody makes a motion to approve it, there's no, it'll die for lack of a
It's
motion.
confusing enough as it is.
Yeah.
Item number 7, approval of ordinance number 1934, amending Title 15 of the Bethany Code of Ordinances, Section 150.006, 150.026, 150.048, and 150.073, and 98.01 pertaining to members of Board of Appeals under International Building Code, International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, and National Electric Code, and pertaining to Board of Appeals under the International Property Maintenance Code. This item was postponed from the May 18, 2017 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, item to be heard by City Council on June 20th, 2017.
I'll make a motion that we accept it as written.
That actually is a public hearing item, and I don't think I've got a copy of the ordinance here in front of me. Let me see if it's on my handy iPad, which goes to sleep real fast.
Isn't this to be discussed on June 20th?
I don't have it in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not here in my paperwork.
You need a motion to table it?
Yeah, we need a table.
Okay, motion to table it?
Second.
Please cast your votes.
Correct. I was confused by the technology, but that's correct. The bad weather caused cancellation of a meeting, which means this is 2 weeks behind.
Item number 8, appointment of vice mayor for fiscal year 2018.
I move that we reappoint Jeff Knapp as vice mayor since he isn't here tonight.
I overwhelmingly second that motion.
Please cast your votes.
Well, if he can't show up, we should have gone.
Item 9 is appointment of Kathleen Himmler to continue serving as municipal judge. Judge Himmler, would you please stand up so some can meet you? Yeah. Thank you for being here.
I make a motion we reappoint.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second that.
Please cast your votes. Item 10 is appointment of David Davis to continue serving as city attorney.
I'd
You'd
make a
like to stand
motion
up?
to approve that.
Not unless you need me to.
Nominate Mr. Palmer.
Second that, David.
I beg your pardon?
I'm going to second that.
Did we get a second on the
Second.
appointment?
Second.
Please cast your votes.
For those of you who aren't as old as I am, the first city council meeting I went to was on the second floor of the old Bethany Bank building, which is now Jack Petty's law office. And you had to go up some rickety stairs that to get to the council chambers, and the council sat around a raised platform that was basically a few sheets of plywood on 2x4s, and it wasn't very well ventilated. Got real hot in there sometimes from the both from the friction that was going on and just from lack of air. But Bethany's come a long way since then.
And I tell you, I will admit, it's C.R. Shirey Company air conditioned that for your comfort.
I'm not sure that Carrier themselves could have adequately handled that building.
Everybody complimented me on the job I did.
Judge Himmler, I would also like to point out that you were unanimously reappointed, even though on our swearing-in night, you could not attend because you had Bon Jovi tickets. Is that correct?
Yes, but there's really more to that. I didn't go to the concert because my mother-in-law died that night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I gave them away, so I was where I was supposed to be, and glad I was.
There you go. Sorry to hear that. Item number 11 is a call to the public. Any speaker will be given 3 minutes to discuss their matter. Please refrain from discussing or naming any individual. Also, under the Open Meetings Act, we cannot take action on any item presented, but we will hear you tonight. The city manager and or staff will also hear comments made. If city manager cannot address the matter, then it may be brought back as a future agenda item. Do we have anybody that would like to address the council? Item 12 is the city attorney's report.
All my items were listed on the agenda.
Item 13, the city manager's report.
Okay, good evening. I'd like to also congratulate those that are reappointed tonight, Judge Himmler and David Davis. Pleasure working with both of you. And once again, our strong team just keeps getting reaffirmed. I have several things tonight, and I apologize in advance. Let me get to it. Pictures. June 20th is the date for council and city administration pictures. We will start pictures at 5 o'clock. We'll be sending out more information to you all here shortly. We're anticipating doing the horseshoe photo at 6 o'clock that evening, and we'll continue photos after that. And of course, that is council evening as well. So June 20th, and we'll be sending out more information on that soon. I want to congratulate, I appreciate so much the retreat that we had the other day. So much was accomplished at that retreat. It was an extremely positive environment. You might recall we reviewed the comp plan, we reviewed a draft of our vision and goals, and I anticipate going through multiple organizations on our quest to obtain vision and goals that are accepted by the whole community, and eventually coming back to you all after it's been vetted by several others. We also discussed trust and setting the standard for public services. We talked about our accomplishments and innovation and creative ideas. We also discussed certain policies that I anticipate coming up in the not too distant future. Sidewalks, also building neighborhood and community involvement. We talked about our organization and why we exist to serve the community by providing exemplary public services to enhance the quality of life, and really good stuff. And I anticipate sharing several of the other things that were discussed that day with our staff. We talked about also, I mentioned already, the community involvement. I'm really excited and appreciate those folks that have stepped up, including our Planning and Zoning Commission that voted just the other evening to take on that role to help us with that visioning process. It's really happening, and it's happening because so many people are getting involved and taking ownership in certain areas. Our mayor, I'm going to embarrass you again for just a moment, with the creation of the Mayor's Task Force, that is turning what could have been, and I'll get to code enforcement in a moment, what could have been just a negative situation with our enforcement and turning around to a very positive thing. So I congratulate you and everybody involved in that. And that's the kind of stuff I think the mayor was talking about earlier, that the more we involve ourselves and engage in positive betterment of the community, the more we're going to accomplish together. So I wanted to share all that. I also wanted to share that part of the comp plan also talks about recycling. And I anticipate we are making progress on our automation of solid waste to the point to where I hope in the not too distant future we'll be able to make a presentation to you all and vet out how best we can move forward with that. But a big segment of that will be recycling services, or the potential of it. And so once again, my old adage of let's get more folks involved in the community is to form a group of folks, that there are folks in the world that are very passionate about recycling. And so forming a task force that will look at recycling measures for our community and how we can best accomplish recycling, if we can accomplish it. I think we can, but let's see. And so I anticipate putting together a proposal for a new task force for recycling. Gilbert, you may get off the hook on this one. All the committees that you serve on, we may let you off on that one. We'll see. So anyway, that's coming up. And then also one of the other areas that we talked about at our workshop the other day was enhancing our relationships with the entities that are so successful in our community. And the 2 universities, a children's hospital, and speaking of one of the universities, Southwestern Christian, they have stepped up. We've been visiting with them. They are going to provide to us the use of vans for the transporting of our various task forces when we have reconnaissance that we would like to do. The Parks and Recreation folks are going to be the first ones up to bat, so to speak, when we take a tour of all the Bethany parks, and we may possibly look at a few nearby Oklahoma City parks as a part of that. So I appreciate SCU very much. And speaking of our new task forces, we have launched 4 of those new groups have launched just this past week and a half. The cemetery committee, and I see that we have a member here this evening, Watzel Carlson, is on the cemetery committee. They've selected the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month, and they'll be meeting again on June the 8th. And they'll be taking a tour of our cemetery. The Arts and Culture Committee has met. They've selected the 3rd Monday at noon for their meetings each month. The Parks and Rec that I've just mentioned a moment ago, and Trees, are going to be meeting on the 1st and 3rd Thursdays at 5:30. And the Branding and Logo Committee met also this past week, and they've selected the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month at 6 p.m. There's so much excitement in those groups. Folks are just really excited to get involved and play a role in our community, and it's really exciting. We also, we have had, it's always challenging getting that first meeting organized. We send letters out and wait to hear back. And so anyway, the Charter Review Committee, I think we're to the point to where we have them picking a date for their first inaugural meeting. And hopefully after your decision tonight, we can send out similar letters to the Bethany Economic Development Authority and begin coordinating their initial meeting as well. So it's very exciting. Just a couple more things. I wanted to mention that the library, we've had quite a conversation about the library. We still may need, depending on, you might recall, you saw the budget documents for the library that Todd Olberding shared, and the budget, and our six some $million in construction costs that are in our budget. Should the bids come in high, the Metropolitan Library System may consider some sort of contribution toward the project. And if that becomes the case, then we will need to allow them to meet first for that consideration before we actually approve the winning bid. So you might recall I sent out an email quite some time ago. You may have forgotten about it. It's been quite some time ago, asking about having a special call meeting on either July the 24th and 25th. And I got pretty positive feedback about both of those dates. So we'll have to just play that by ear and see how the bid openings turn out. The final area of the steering committee, or as far as committees are concerned, that I wanted to mention is that with these boards, with the rewrite of the Title 15 of our municipal code, which is, again, in our comp plan, talked about to allow for form-based code for some of these districts. It is an expensive process, and we've done a request for qualifications. We've now are to the point to where we're ready to vet the firm that appears to be the heir apparent to being that company to do that work for us. And what we're looking at possibly doing in conjunction with Gilbert Carlson and the conversations that we've had is possibly having a joint planning and zoning board of adjustment and steering committee meeting along with staff members that are affected or interested in the process to meet with this particular company to vet them as well, and then eventually bring that recommendation to council, and we'll invite that company in to do a presentation to you all as well. So a little bit of lifting yet to be done on that respect, but I wanted to let you know that it continues to move along. And finally, last but maybe not least, is code enforcement. I wanted to give you an update. Our staff, I'm just so proud of the work that they've done. We were kind of slow getting out of the gate, but now we're going gangbusters. We now have issued a total of 606 notices of violations, and of those, only 161 remain open, which means that we have completed or closed a total of 446 properties that had code violations. So I think that's a great win for the community of Bethany. Once again, going back with a compliment to the mayor's task force for the role they're helping in that process as well to take the sting away and help people be successful. With that, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm sorry my report was so long, but that concludes it.
Thank you. Item 14, council members' announcements, comments, and proposals tonight in honor of your 59th anniversary. We'll start with you, Mr. Shirey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that projection. I'm going to start with the fact that I've been
Mr.
married 59 years.
Can you please turn on your mic?
My microphone was on, y'all. It's not on. I guess I'll have to turn this.
There we got you here. It's working. We can hear you now.
Okay, you can turn it off then. I've been requested that I wear this because I just don't speak loud enough. And it's probably due to the fact that I'm wearing my voice box out. But I'm going to make some comments that I've been married 59 years. And half of that period has been spent on this council. So I go back a very long ways, and I know a lot about what goes on within the city of Bethany. And the city manager really did pay me and my fellow city council people a very big compliment, because in 1983, when we had the big oil bust, Bethany had to let go 35 people because we could not afford them any longer. And that shook some people up. And the next big tragedy came along was in 1991 that North Rockwell fell in for 400 feet due to poor repairs and maintenance on a sanitary sewer line. That stayed open for a year. And the way it was controlled was we went to, for lack of a better word, and it's not, we didn't go there, but to Harbor Freight and bought their big blue tarps and put it and tacked them down to keep the odor from permeating the whole northwest side of Bethany. And the city fathers at that time says, we've got to do something about what's going on. We don't have any, we had to wait a year to run a bond issue, get bids made out, and do it. Then we decided to get to work and put together a comprehensive financial plan. And I have worked in the United States Navy for 3 years, part of my tour, 3 years. I worked as the assistant to the comptroller of a Naval Air Station that did a $44 million budget per year. Now that was back in the early 60s, so you can imagine what that would be in American dollars at this time. I said, we've got to get a hold of these costs, and I know how to do them. I ran a business for 50 years, and I made a very profitable business. And you've got to watch your expenditures, and you've got to make sure that what you bring in covers those expenditures. You have to continue to put back a certain amount of money so that contingencies happen, you can take care of them. We've got, as the city manager says, we've probably got $22 million worth of those contingencies taken care of, if we had $22 million worth of contingencies. But the new budget shows that we're going to have to, they're going to want to spend a desperate amount of money, as far as I'm concerned, a desperate amount of money to do things for the people in the city of Bethany. I don't necessarily think that we need to spend that type of money, but I think we need to start planning to spend that type of money, because it's going to be a long process. There are so many things that needs to be done that are 60 and 70 years old that need to be done. We need to husband our money. But as you say, we just came out of an 8-year slump in city growth. We didn't grow a whole lot. We kept our status quo. We gained a little bit. You take cities like Oklahoma City, they're having to drop their manning qualities on their police department and their fire department and the equipment that they have to have, because they have overspent money on projects that are what I consider to be probably fluff. And we need to make sure that we don't spend any money on fluff because we just don't have it. And I think that your statement on having another budget meeting to kind of flesh this, I would call it at least a 10 or 15 year plan out, and do some work on doing this without putting ourselves in too much of a harm's way. In about I think it was 9 or 10, we had a study done in Bethany. Should have been broke in 17, but we, as a city council, we made absolutely sure that we could beat that project. Now I think we've probably got it. If we had a real serious problem, we could last to 25. But if you don't lose all your money at one time, if you have a turn back, and I've always noticed this. My business was one of these roller coasters, as an electrical contractor, you have years that are better than others, or periods that are better than others, and you have to adjust for those. And you may drop off 25% on income, but you must maintain the cadre of people that run your business to make absolutely sure that when you have to start back up, that you have those qualified people to do that. And the hardest thing that some of my city council members told me in 1983 is that they had to let people go. they couldn't do anything about it because the economy just went straight into the ocean. And you need to do this, but we need to make a concerted effort to play both ends of what we have to play. We have to do what needs to be fixed, but we also have to do what needs to maintain the city of Bethany for another 100 years. If we don't do that, we might as well give up and put the flag up and see if some other entity around us here will take us in. And we don't want to do that because Bethany is a golden place to live. I've lived here 80 years, and it's great. And I don't want it to be a lost cause because we didn't do proper financial planning. And we absolutely have to do that. This is the most important thing that this council will do in the next 4 years, is to make sure that we last another 100. That's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. McCutcheon? I have nothing. Mr. Herron?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I have nothing.
Mr. Moore?
Congratulations, Mr. Shirey.
It's well deserved.
Never mind. She's a patient woman. I liked what you said about enhancing, and I apologize for missing the retreat. The state called me and said you've got to get to continuing education classes. They changed it so your license expires in your birth month. I didn't have a choice. When the state tells you to do something, you do it. So, but talking about, just to tie in what Mr. Shirey said, enhancing relationships with our successful entities or partners that we've got in the city. If we had an earthquake or just a change in even just a business practice, we could lose a couple businesses and lose 40% of our income to the city, quick. And I'm asked every day. I've had half the council come by my office and ask me, we've discussed, and everybody seems to be in agreement on 23rd Street. I would love to see us set a speed record on that, because there's not a day goes by. I think you've heard it. You got an earful from people coming and going. When are you guys going to keep those black lights coming down 23rd Street? They look so good. War Acres even did it. There's black street lights, sidewalks, 2 major intersections, and 2 minor intersections. It's not that big of a job. It's a big job. But if we did that, that would actually show something physical going on and a change. And of course, I'd like to see it. I think probably half of us would like to see it go CBD. There's a few setbacks, but you're gonna have to take some. If you want yin and yang, you're gonna go CBD, and that's what everybody says they want. But if we went CBD and started that off on 23rd Street, it would. Papa's Leather Bar could be one of the biggest leather sellers in the United States, because they're getting there now, because they do a ton of business all over the world. But there's a lot of people just ask me every day, when are you going to start on 23rd Street? We don't have to reinvent anything. Dennis Luckenbill from Enid, Oklahoma, Mr. Hefner over here, they sell the black lights. They're sitting there. I mean, the plans are already in place. We can copy the city of Oklahoma City's plans. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just got to do it. And to echo what Mr. Shirey said, I'll be very specific. I feel comfortable with about $10 or $12 million in the bank. The city of Bethany for contingencies, as we're looking at numbers, just for emergencies in case something goes wrong. That's the number I'm looking at. If I'm wrong, you guys can school me. But that's about the number I've seen over the years, where it goes up and down, and all the experts will point arrows and where they cross and betas, and but you keep $10 or $12 million in the bank, you've got a pretty good handle on some emergencies. And but I would like to see 23rd Street get a move on it. Just we get a chug and then we stop. We get a chug and then we need something to show something going on. And that's all I've got. JD, you're doing a great job. Don't take anything, policy decisions or differences personally. Differences of opinion happen. You're a great guy. You're doing a great job. Great job. Enthusiasm. sells, it sizzles. But just differences of opinion is not anything personal. It's not anything bad. Mr. Shaver and I agree more than anybody. I promise you. We've had some very vehement disagreements. But you're doing a good job. Keep it up, and just don't. It's not none of it's personal. Our job is to be skeptical. Our job is to be the stewards of the temporary stewards of the public's money, and so I don't take that very seriously. But don't ever take anything personal like that. Okay, that's all I got.
Mr. Todd?
I'll pass, thank you.
Dr. Harris?
I just want to thank everyone for your support of the library, and the bid packages should go out tomorrow, I guess, for those who want them. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks to everyone for the support of the Bethany 66 Festival. We had great weather, great attendance, and good turnout for everyone. I have a question on sign violations, private signs primarily. Are they part of the code enforcement that is now being done, where there are private signs that are just deteriorating or falling over or whatever?
Yes, if you will let me know after the meeting where those are, we'll follow
Okay.
up on those, certainly.
Thanks, that's all I have.
Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to announce the vision meeting that will take place. It's hosted by the Bethany District Neighborhood Association. It'll be Monday, June 12th at 7 p.m. at Two Lakes Baptist Church. That's 6715 Northwest 50th Street. Mark Long, who is a member of the P&Z, will be presenting his workshop related to issues. And what we need to do is identify those issues that are important for our area. And I would invite all of the city council and any part of the city of Bethany that would like to attend to provide input. This is the first vision meeting we're going to have, the first of many, which will set the tone and identify the needs and wants for the residents, and then try to find solutions to those problems. There are a lot of problems in my neighborhood. I think my neighbors know that, and now is an opportunity for your voice to be heard. And like I said on my Facebook page, if you want to get on the ground floor, this is the meeting you need to attend. And I would request, and just make a point to be there. You don't have to be there for the whole thing, but we want to see your support. And I would also like to point out, and I think this came out in the workshop, the city of Norman just passed a form-based code and an overlay. And if you could look at that online, I think that that's a great example for the city of Bethany. And that's the end game. That's where I think we should be once we've completed this vision process and identified what we want and how we want to do it. So I would point the city council to that document, take a look at it, and get an idea as to where we need to go and what we need to do to get there. The city of Norman has done that. It took them too long, but I think we can do it in a shorter amount of time, and we can do it better, and we can do it successfully. So I would encourage the city council to support any means in order to get to that point. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
What hour is your meeting?
7 p.m.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I'm encouraged that we're going to be meeting again as a council to go over the budget and really hash some things out. I'd like to say that I haven't let it be a secret or anything. I want to automate our trash system. I think that would be great in areas that it works. I want sidewalks and walkability in our town and people to be able to get around. There's people that can't walk from where they live, like Southern Plaza, to downtown. I want to repair streets. I want those nice black street lights. That's going to happen. We have to make that happen. But I feel we need a proactive plan in progress, in place, to deal with the replenishment or dealing with our water wells. I want to have a plan and be trying to move forward one way or another with where we're drilling, how we're going to get there, so that we're looking for to secure our future in regards to water. I think that's a need and more than a want. So I'm excited about the workshop where we can sit down and really every one of us get our heads around what's the game plan. Now let's make a decision to move forward and do this. And JD, I really appreciate all the work you've done because it's not easy, and you are doing a great job. So I really appreciate that. And I believe all of you are doing a great job. I really like this team that we have here. I really do. Item number 15 is new business. Do we have any new business this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to reiterate on one thing you said. If we don't get our water wells in line that we own, Oklahoma City is going to pull our tongue out because they are going to charge us more than what the wells are going to cost us to drill. That is absolutely a necessity.
Yes. I agree.
Sooners.
Go. One again.
I've got one more thing if I could. I just want to congratulate David and the judge for being reappointed. And in the insurance business, I get to hear the millennials gripe, and the judge is doing a great job of some people, they just need a little help, and some people need a smack in the mouth. And she's reached a good balance of that and got a good reputation for that too. And she's doing a great job. So kudos.
Yes. Anyone else? With no additional new business, I declare us adjourned till June 20th, 2017. With that, I open up the Bethany Public Works Authority meeting. Item number 1 is a consent docket. It was A, B, and C, but B is scratched. That's just a typo. So the consent docket, A and C, I guess.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until June 20th, 2017. I open up the Bethany Hospital Trust. Item number 1 is a consent docket. Again, item B is a typo. Scratch that. It's A and C. Approval of minutes from the regular meeting and approval of claims. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please cast your votes. Do we have any new business?
I just got a question about John's questions he had in the past about some of the construction work. I just know where we are on that process.
Do you anticipate us being ready for the next council meeting?
Very soon thereafter.
The first meeting in July?
Anyone else? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until June 20th, 2017. I open up the Bethany Development Authority. Item number 1 is the consent docket. Again, B is scratched. Is the A, approval of minutes, the regular meeting from May 16th, and approval of claims. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned. My thing just went off. Till June 20th, 2017. And with that, I declare us adjourned. Thanks for coming.
I totally spaced out on that date.